Sellers, the market doesn't care what you need. I have your latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending October 12th. But first, let me tell you what I mean about sellers. The market just doesn't care. I received a call last week. Sellers that have been on the market for most of the summer, no sale. They're very frustrated. They canceled their listing and they called me to help them sell. So I did all my research. I go to their home. I explain how we would market the property. I show them all the research for pricing strategy. I explain the market conditions and all sorts of stuff. And I have all this laid out. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, their home really should sell way less than what they've listed at. Now, they've been out on the market at $2 million. In my head, I'm thinking maybe around 1.8. But I asked them, I said, folks, based on all this here, what do you think your home should sell at? And they kind of looked at each other and they didn't answer me. And I said, you got to do me a favor. Take the emotion out of this. I said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, take the emotion out of this. Pretend you're a buyer. And you should know the buyer has access to all this information. What do you think a buyer should be fairly buying your house for? And they said, well, kind of looks like our house should sell for 1.8. And I said, yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. But why were you priced at $2 million? And I said, well, it's what we needed to do everything else that we wanted to do after this sale. We needed $2 million. And we told the realtor that we were speaking with we needed $2 million. And he said we could get it. So we went on the market for $2 million. And we're not getting it. So politely, I had to explain to them that the market doesn't care what you need. And in this case, the market is the buyer. And the buyer has access to all this information that I'm showing these clients. And the buyer's gonna, they're gonna try to buy for as low as possible, but the serious buyer, the right buyer, at the very least is gonna pay really what the market or what generally other people are buying properties in that area for. So again, sellers, the market doesn't care what you need. You really should, first of all, be finding out what's our home going to sell for, but real numbers based on facts, based on evidence. And if this is the market price of your home and what you need is below, beautiful, you're going to score. If this is market price, then what you need is up here. You've got some decisions to make, and one of them could be maybe now is not the time to sell. It all depends on your plans. But it's just crucial to understand the market is the buyer, and the market doesn't care what you need. Find a realtor, a consultant who's going to do the research for you so you can feel confident in the decisions that you're making. Who you hire matters. It always does, and it always will. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. Let's get into the numbers. If you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description is a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you. This way I'll know ahead of time and I'll make sure my schedule is organized so we can talk about whatever's on your mind. So what's protecting home prices in Mississauga, Brampton, the Durham region? Well, you know what? I'm going to go through the numbers, and as we go through it, I'm going to show you. It seems pretty clear to me. Let me show you. So here we go. Here's a quick summary of average sold prices, and you can see the difference between Mississauga in blue, Brampton in green, and Durham. And Durham and Brampton prices kind of sometimes are close together, sometimes further apart. let's get into Mississauga. So this is for detached properties only for the city of Mississauga, broken down by week for a whole year. So 35 detached properties were sold for week ending October 12th. 2 of those were at $2 million or more. Average sold price has come down from the previous week. It's pretty low right now compared to where it's been over the course of the year. Average sold price is $1,373,000. If you look at the sales, yeah, they've gone up and down, but they really haven't changed that much over the last 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. The average sold price of $1,373,000 is 11% lower than last year's average sold price. And median price of $1.3 million is 9% lower than last year's median price. And if you look at the dotted line, both for average sold price and for median price, the dotted line represents a 4-week moving average. And for average price, you could see if you this is for 3 months, the chart here. So if you go back 8 weeks or so, it's been sloping down. Not aggressively, but it has been coming down. The median price, pretty steady actually. So here's sales. Year-to-date sales were 38% fewer sales this year than last year. And this is just for Mississauga, and again, just detached properties. Looking at the sales, now I'm looking at the orange numbers here because that's for this year. Sales are pretty much, they're not changing by much. Sales on a weekly basis are pretty similar. But if we look at listings, and in particular we look at active listings is coming down. There's 396 active listings. If we go back, we used to be at over 500 active listings. We're now at 396. So sales haven't changed much, but the amount of properties available for sale, which is active listings, has come down. So the buyers are there, they have fewer choices. This is what's happening. This is what's propping up prices or keeping them kind of where they are right now, is that there's just fewer choices. We're not seeing the flood of listings. I'll get back to that in a minute with Brampton. So we're still at Mississauga. Months of inventory sitting at 2.6. For prices to come down, we need months of inventory to be higher, in the high 3 months of inventory, in the 4s, in the 5s even. We're nowhere near that. We're halfway there, say. We're at 2.6 months of inventory. Let's look at Brampton. 46 detached properties were sold for week ending October 12th. 2 of those were at $2 million or more. You look at the sales, hasn't changed so much. Average sold price went up a little bit from the previous week. It's now sitting at $1,172,000. $1,172,000 is 5% lower than last year's average sold price. The median price of $1,088,000 is 14% lower than last year's median price. And if you look at the 4-week moving average, well, for median price, doesn't look like there's much change. Average sold price, yeah, kind of sloping down a little bit. So it's coming down, but slightly. Looking at the sales, focused on the orange numbers, hasn't changed much. There's even an argument to say over the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's gone up a little bit from the previous 2 or 3 weeks. Year-to-date sales, 45% fewer sales in Brampton this year versus last year. So that's January 1st to October 12th. So sales hasn't changed much, maybe even gone up a little bit. Active listings, it's much lower. We used to be over 600 active listings. We're now at 385. So sales hasn't changed much, but the amount of properties available for sale is getting lower. Less choices means buyers are competing. This is what's happening in Brampton. Months of inventory is sitting at 1.9. It's by nowhere near what we would call a balanced market. No chance of it even being a buyer's market when months of inventory is this slow. If we go back just 3 months, months of inventory is actually coming down over the course of 3 months, where if we want to see more drastic price reductions, months of inventory should be going up. Peel and Durham, for the Durham region, and we're looking at Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham sample. 38 detached properties were sold. One of those was at $2 million or more, and average sold price $1,087,000, which is down quite a bit from the previous week. $1,087,000 is 8% lower than last year's average sold price. Median price of $1,030,000 is 11% lower than last year's median price. The 4-week moving average, both for average sold price and for median price over the last 8 to 10 weeks or so, is sloping down gradually. So sales haven't changed that much. Active listings is down. For this week, we're sitting at 205 active listings, which is the amount of properties available for sale at the end of October 12th. We used to be over 300. We're now at 205. Now, it's only 100 off. It's not that much of a difference. But when we're only, I'm going to go back to the slide, when we're only buying 38, 46, 100 taken out of circulation really makes a big difference. So 205 active listings, months of inventory is sitting at 1.2. Prices are not going to plummet if inventory is that tight. We used to be at 1.9. Months of inventory over the last 3 months has actually decreased. Now, I know this goes against so many things that we're hearing out there being broadcasted, but prices are not aggressively coming down anymore. It just hasn't happened in a few months. They've been quite stable, quite steady. If they're coming down, they're slightly, it's not that aggressive, and it's just because months of inventory is so low. Here's condos this is for all of Peel region. 37 condos were sold. 3 of those were at $1 million or more. Average sold price took a big jump. The median price at $599 is 9% higher than last year, and average sold price is actually 7% higher than last year's average sold price. Sales. So sales hasn't changed that much. Active listings is actually coming down a little bit, and months of inventory is sitting at 2.9. That's for condos. Now, we have been in more of a balanced market, but it kind of looks like also months of inventory is getting a little bit tighter in the condo market. So here's a quick summary of all the months of inventory. So what has to happen? Months of inventory are quite low, especially if we're talking about the detached market. Active listings, the amount of properties available for sale. If they're coming down and sales stay the same or increase, well, that's going to put an upward pressure on prices. What we need to happen, if our goal is to see prices coming down, we need more properties being on the market and fewer buyers looking to buy. And then we'll start to see a surplus, lots of choices, prices tend to come down. That's not what's happening. It's the opposite. The market's actually getting tighter, and that's what's propping up prices, almost, like a crutch holding up. Prices have come down quite a bit from the peak, but they've been steady for a while now. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.